I love homemaking, but there was this little piece of the puzzle that had a big impact that I was missing for years, and I was figuring out a way to creatively earn money from home. And surprisingly, I found the answer right in my face all along. This realization now has me on a journey of seeing what's possible with the start of my own in home micro bakery. And today I want to share how you can have your own self discovery as well. Sometimes the answers we're looking for are not screaming or shouting out at us, but they're very subtle, they're very quiet, but if we just look hard enough, we can find them. As I give this very brief description, almost all of us are going to know who I'm talking about. And that description is she works with her hands in delight, she considers a field and buys it. From her earnings, she plants a vineyard and she makes linen garments and sells them. That details who the Proverbs 31 woman is. Now, I know she comes across as perfect in every single area, but that is not what this is about. This is about just sharing how she so greatly was able to tend to her home and her family while also creatively using her hands to earn an income.
I want to take a moment to show you this pasta sauce that I'm using, as well as the pasta that I'm going to be using for the spaghetti. This is a new product to me. My husband went grocery shopping a couple of days ago and he bought these items back, so I just wanted to share them with you. And this is the Del Grosso organic tomato basil pasta sauce. I like that it has no sugar added. It also has pretty simple ingredients. Maybe Del Olive is this. Maybe that's how we're saying this. And it says the art and soul of pasta. And this is organic whole wheat pasta. And he picked this up from Mom's. I like that it says this is expertly milled organic whole durum wheat flour. So the ingredients are pretty simple. But what was, I thought, one of the cutest things I've seen as far as ingredients is on the back for ingredients. It says our recipe is simple and our approach traditional. Patience, wheat, and water. How cute is that? So I guess that's all they use to make this. So this looks pretty good as well. So these are two new to me products that I'm going to be using to make our spaghetti tonight. Although I have some really nice tomato sauce, these tomatoes are fresh out of my garden, which is pretty much done for the season. Every couple of days, a couple tomatoes do still spring up, and I just go out and grab them because why not? But I am ready to tear the whole thing down, uproot everything. It's pretty much done, but we are getting a couple of straggling tomatoes that still look really good and perfectly fine for eating. So I'm going to get those rinsed off and chopped up. But the first thing I'm going to start with is this bowl of herbs. So the reason I have so many of these fresh green herbs is because the market from this past weekend, I was going to do some breads with some add-ins and some herb add-ins as far as rosemary and basil, but as I went through my production, I just kind of capped it off at what I had. So I have all of these fresh herbs left, which is great because it's going to make for an awesome spaghetti. Which that leads me to a tip for your micro bakery is to use ingredients that you don't mind using in your own kitchen, because if you have leftover ingredients, if you have things that didn't sell, then you know it's nice to be able to know that you can bring them home to your family and enjoy them. So that's something to keep in mind when you're shopping for ingredients. I know oftentimes, especially when it comes to business and trying to save money, that it's easy to just grab the cheapest item or maybe use something that you wouldn't necessarily use in your own home. But I really would second, I would really kind of reconsider that, because as a micro baker, if you don't have product that sell, it's, yes, you can give some things away. Yes, you can donate things. Absolutely. I'm not taking away from that at all. But it is nice to know that if you have a couple of loaves of bread that didn't sell, you could just bring them home and enjoy them and feel good about it. Or even if it's baked goods, just consider, if these items did not sell in my micro bakery business, would I be okay and comfortable with bringing them home for my family to eat? So that is why I source ingredients and I use things that I will perfectly eat and give to my own family. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to buy the most expensive high-end ingredients, because as a micro baker business owner, you do have to consider your cost of goods. You do keep that in mind, but that does not mean that you just want to grab always the cheaper options of things, because you want to be able to enjoy your own products as well if need be. So that's just my thoughts. That's just my 2 cents. Some people probably, maybe bake bread and they don't even eat bread, or maybe bake certain sweets and maybe they don't eat sweets. Me personally, I just feel more comfortable with preparing things that my family and I actually eat and enjoy, and we would not mind taking the leftovers if needed. Thankfully, that it doesn't happen too often, but just when it does, if it does, we're good. We would totally eat everything that I bake.
Okay, let's get back to the Proverbs 31 woman. What I want to point out is she was not passive, but she was very productive. She was very focused on figuring out ways to creatively contribute financially to her family. And it wasn't so much about the amount or how much, but it looked as if she was just doing her daily duties, her daily routines of caring and loving for her family. And then one day you look up and now she's investing. It looked like she was a seamstress, a gardener. She prepared meals. She was doing these daily homemaking tasks that eventually led her to be able to invest. So that's where I think the secret lies. Looking at those daily tasks as a way to just get started. Because for me, that was my struggle for years. I wanted to know the perfect solution, the perfect thing I should be doing, the one thing I'm called to do. But the truth was, as I just took one step to just get started with one loaf of bread, that is the key that opened up the door within my mind to, what else could this lead to?
This sauce, it smells really good, and I love how hearty it is. I love being able to use up all of those herbs that I did not use in my bread this past weekend. We have fresh garlic, just a lot of goodness in here. And I love sauces like this because you almost cannot mess it up. You have your ground meat, your sauce, and then you just go and let your creativity go, and you just add in all types of goodness in here. The kids rarely will pick through anything because so many kids love spaghetti. So I think this is a definite household staple, is to have your pasta sauce, whether it's spaghetti or a different type of noodle, pasta and sauce. But the sauce is so good. No, I did not make the sauce from scratch. It is jarred pasta sauce. But even if you have a basic pasta sauce and you just add in all of your fresh goodness, it will be just as good. Last week I purchased a 12 pack of 12 ounce mason jars. And I went with this size jar because the winter is coming, and something that I learned during my last pregnancy, my doula, she taught us the importance of making herbal teas. And that really was so helpful for me during my pregnancy, even especially when I was very early postpartum. And believe it or not, my daughter is 2.5 years old, and we are still breastfeeding. She's still nursing, mainly primarily at night, sometimes a little bit during the day. So I really still need to put a lot of effort into taking care of my health. I am running a business, a mom, still nursing. So as much as I can remember to do so, I still like to make my herbal teas. But what I was finding was when I would have I think it's maybe about like the 16-ounce mason jars, they're just a bit larger, and it's quite a bit of tea to go through. So I wanted a smaller jar, and I'm just showing you this here because this may also be helpful for you as well. As a micro bakery owner, our task, sometimes it can feel taxing. Sometimes you can have long nights. The colder weather is coming, and it's important to keep your immune system nice and strong and healthy. You know, you're dealing with not only your food for your family, but also food for other families too. So being in the best health that you can will be beneficial for you and your business. So I'm just sharing what I'm doing, one of the steps I'm taking to help prepare for this winter season, to help continue to build my own immune system and keep my own self nice and just vitalized to take on the task that I have to do, and that is making these herbal teas. Now the trick with these jars, at least in my case, is that I don't have a ton of storage. I don't want to keep them in the cabinets where we have our regular plates and cups because they'll just take up a lot of that space. And I want them to be easily accessible so that I can make the teas more frequently. I just find that when stuff is easy for me to reach, to get to, I just do it more frequently because it just feels like one less barrier to work through to go and dig something out or hunt something out. So I probably could also clear out a shelf or something in the washroom over there, but I'm not going to do that. I want these jars right in front of my face. I want them looking at me every day, reminding me to make these herbal teas. So what I'm actually going to do is have them up here beside my grain mill because they're going to be up and out of the way from the kids, but they will still be easy enough for me to reach and have that constant reminder all season, all year long, to continue to make these teas. So today I'm actually going to be making a nettle mixture, and I will show you that. But the two main teas that I make are nettle and red raspberry leaf tea. These are very beneficial for women's health, for the body, whether you're pregnant or not. But like I said, I am still nursing my 2.5-year-old, so I'm still needing just a little bit more extra nutrients. As much as I don't like taking pills, I do take my prenatal vitamins, not as often as I should, so I'm going to be getting better at that. But even well after giving birth, I still think it's a good idea to take your prenatals or some type of multivitamin. And I also, as much as I can remember and put forth the effort to do, I also like to make fruit smoothies with just kefir and frozen fruit. But for now, I'm going to get these jars right up here. So I'm just going to put them up and keep a mental note that they need to be washed out before I use them. We've already opened the box, my husband and I, because I've already had a couple jars of the tea already. but that is done. While I am waiting for this water to heat up for my tea, I just thought I would clarify or specify, not that I have to, but just if you're curious, how long do I plan on breastfeeding? I don't think I feel comfortable going past 3. So we got about 6 more months of this, and then we'll start weaning, or probably a little bit before. But that's just my thoughts about it. I'm okay with going like up to age 3. After 3, that's pretty much the cutoff for me. So I just thought I would share that, just if anyone was wondering. Something else I wanted to hop on and show you while I'm waiting for this water to heat up, which it's just about there, it's going to cut off any second, is how I store my teas. Right here is the nettle tea, and this is all in there. And then I have this huge jar of red raspberry leaf tea, which I keep in here. I think the pricing is much better when you purchase tea in bulk. So that's typically how I like to do it. I just buy a bunch of it, and then we just store it in the containers like this. I know my water is nice and ready because the tea kettle will automatically turn off. So because I'm using 12 ounces, I'm going to use a half cup of nettle. Now, when we first learned how to make this, my doula, she taught us with a scale and being, very precise and accurate. And that is perfectly fine, but I'm just trying to get it done and do it. So I'm using a half cup to go in 12 ounces. And then I'm just going to pour the water right on top. And I'm going to give this a little bit of a stir. I just want to get all of those herbs under the water as much as possible. And I have a little bit of room on top, so I'm just going to add a little bit more water. These herbs are very potent, they're very strong. It's a very good tea. So I want to make sure I actually drink, as much of it as possible. So I just want to get it all nice and under the water. And then from here, is this the lid? Yes. From here, I just kind of take the lid and put it loosely over just to let some of the steam out. This is the ring that goes on the lid. So you could do it this way, but I also do have smaller jar covers, like the fabric that I use over my sourdough starter. And I think I'm going to actually go get one of those instead. Here's the fabric cover, which again, my neighbor so graciously made so many different sizes for me. And because it's the time of year where the gnats are kind of out and kind of being annoying right now, I'm just going to use this cloth instead. I let this sit for a couple hours to allow it to cool off a bit, let some of the steam out before I put it in the refrigerator. Because if you put something this hot in your refrigerator right now, it's just going to make your refrigerator work really hard to try to get it to cool down, and we don't need to do that. This can just sit out here, cool down, and before I go to bed, I will put the lid and the ring on and just stick it in the fridge and allow it to sit overnight. And I will drink it tomorrow, more so towards the end of the day, to just allow it to kind of steep for a good 24 hours. I'm not a coffee drinker, so this is my drink of choice. If I prefer, if I'm looking for like my daily drink, so to speak, it would be a nice glass of herbal tea.
What I'm about to say is not out of meanness or to be harsh, because hey, this was literally me for years. And that is, so many of us as women are literally sitting on money. Oftentimes, it's not because anyone just wants to sit around and be lazy, but it's because the lies from either the enemy himself, society, or our own thoughts tell us that what we have to offer is not valuable enough. The lies of deception will make us think as though no one will pay us to do that, or nobody will want to buy this or that from us. And that is literally what kept me basically like trapped within my own mind, feeling as though I didn't have anything of value to offer if I did not have a normal 9 to 5 job. And once I realized how untrue that was, once I realized that the same care and homemade bread that I was providing for my own family, someone would pay me for, that's when the truth of the fact that I have been lied to all of this time, it finally hit me. It finally hit me that someone will pay for the same thing I'm providing for my own family. And that is what I want to challenge you today. I want to challenge you to look at your day, look at your weeks, look at your months, look at what is something that you are doing for your family that someone would happily pay for. Or if you say, well, maybe I'm not really into the home cooking or homemaking thing, but what is something you do so effortlessly that someone would pay you for? Maybe you are an outstanding editor. Maybe someone, despite all of the AI technology, would love to have a human set of eyes, look at their paper, look at their reports, and get human, honest feedback.
This is considered the cleanup stage, which means the dough have been mixed to a point to where it has basically cleaned the bowl. It has cleaned up all of the flour, all of the ingredients, and it's all combined in this one ball of dough.
So what I'm doing here is actually I have a brioche bread dough, well, a brioche bread recipe that I have to do for class. It's always homework every single week. And then also I wanted to experiment with a sourdough brioche recipe. So that's what I'm doing as well. But back to your skills, back to the skills that we want to look really, really hard at and see how we can start using those skills to start making money for our families. And remember, this is not like you have to become a lifelong editor. We're not saying that. Or you have to become a lifelong baker or whatever it is. I'm just pointing out that we all have something of value that people will happily pay us for. We all have something that I promise you, it may seem so insignificant or it may not seem like, oh, that's not needed or no one would pay for that. But I promise you, all of us, we have something that if we want to, we can use that small thing and that can begin to just get us started on the journey of generating money for our families. And I know sometimes there is this huge stumbling block that sometimes we have a hard time getting over, and that is the fact that we don't feel like experts. So we feel like we are not qualified to teach or provide a skill or service or whatever we're thinking about. But let me remind you that when I first started my micro bakery business about a year ago from now, I started as a stay at home mom, a homemaker, just wanting to provide bread for my own family. And that led to me selling my bread at farmers markets. Now, from me getting started, that just put in my mind that, hey, there are more skills and more knowledge that I want to learn. So therefore, I began my culinary arts journey. I signed up and I'm currently enrolled taking the baking and pastry course. I did not wait to complete the course or I did not wait to sign up, then start selling. No, I just got started. So it's okay if you don't know everything. It's okay if you still need training or if you need some certification or whatever it is. I'm just here to encourage you to just get started. And once you start, if you feel like there's some more skills and things that you want to go back and brush up on or get refreshed on, that is totally fine. God has proven himself to me over and over again that it really is not about being the person who has it all together or being the person that has all of the skills, but it's really just about having a willing heart, a willingness to give it a try, a willingness to trust Him, and to see what can be possible if I just try. So, my encouragement to you today is to just get started. Don't overthink it. Don't be in fear. Don't worry if nobody's going to buy or if it's going to work out. Just take the first step and get started. Because here's the beauty in all of this. This is something you get to do for the glory of God and for the good of your family. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.